Alright, I'm Walker Hartman. I'm a senior, 195.
Alright, I'm Tim Fox. I'm a senior this year and I'm wrestling 120.
Hugh Weiss, 12, 126.
Ben Sinclair, I'm a senior, I wrestle at 195.
My name is Destiny Kintop and I'm a senior. Emily Jorgensen, a senior in high school, and I'm a manager.
My most memorable moment in wrestling, probably freshman year when we won the conference championship. That was a good moment.
I would say I don't have a particularly memorable moment. I'd say my entire freshman year, that was one year that was absolutely packed with memories.
My most memorable moment was probably first year I started wrestling, sophomore year, made it to sectionals. So that was pretty cool for me.
My match to make it down to state last year.
Most memorable moment of the season would have to be winning the Axe when we didn't really think that we were going to be able to, but yet we pulled through and we won by a couple of points and the team was just super happy about it, and it was a great ending of the day. I'd probably have to say seeing how far some of the boys have come versus their conference versus what they're doing outside of their conference. It's a very proud moment as a team.
I'll miss most about the team bonding. Most people don't realize how much team bonding goes into wrestling. They see it as more of an individual sport. But there's so many aspects out there in the sport of wrestling with team bonding at the hotels, in between matches, during breaks and stuff. That's one thing I'm definitely going to miss.
Almost like the family bond we have in the wrestling room. It's supposed to be a one-man sport, really, but as a team, it's more of a family. So.
Definitely the camaraderie, the whole team aspect of the sport, the overnight tournaments, spending my Saturdays with nothing but my team. I'm gonna miss all that.
I'm definitely gonna miss like the big tournaments when we all got to get together and like bond, especially at overnight meets like Bayport, when we all got to sit together and we'd mess around and go out to eat together and sit in the hot tub and just fool around and get to team bond and stuff like that. I'll definitely miss kind of just goofing around with the guys and creating the memories. It will stick with me for a while.
Any regrets? Probably just tearing my ACL freshman year, but there was nothing you could really do about that.
I think I've done pretty well. For a guy that wrestles 3-4 months out of the year, I'm happy with where I'm sitting. This year was definitely a bummer for sure. Not being able to reach my complete goals with being cut short of the amount of matches and stuff that I got. But overall, I'm very happy with where I'm sitting right now.
I think that if I would have started earlier, I could have been a lot better, and I'm disappointed that I didn't start earlier because I love this sport so much.
Shaving my face and not taking more shots.
A big regret would be not becoming a manager sooner. It's definitely something that I've enjoyed doing. Personally, no. I mean, I kind of wish I became a manager earlier, just to be more part of the team more. But it was a really good season.
I probably looked up to Ruben the most just because he was a hard-working kid, and I liked that in the wrestling room, and he pushed everyone else to be better.
I'd probably say my most influential class would be the seniors that were seniors my freshman year. Those guys definitely set the bar high. They're good role models, great leaders. They helped me out, every day through the wrestling room and just kind of coached me throughout. Every day and every practice.
To be honest, probably Walker Hartman. I looked up to him because he was a really good role model for me. He knew a lot of stuff and was smart about a lot of things. So
Probably Scott Fox or Walker Hartman. They both taught me a lot about the sport and made me mentally tough to continue my career.
Colton Kruger. He was a very kind person, and that's definitely something that I look up to. And he could always mess around with you and have a good time, but he was also could be serious when needed and was definitely a person that you could confide in. I'd probably look up to how hard Tim works. I've seen him grow and heard about him even before I was a manager. just how hard he works and how much time he puts into the sport.
Oh, future plans. I'm enlisted in the Air National Guard, and then I'll go to college from there and major in business in some way.
Yeah, my future plans, going to college for sure, potentially wrestling, not 100% sure if that's what I want to do or not. It's definitely a big commitment, but it's in my thoughts. So.
Nothing currently in the sport of wrestling. Hoping to become a fireman and stay around the Northwoods area.
I want to become a social worker of some sort, or at least under the social work category, working with kids, troubled kids and families, and helping them out to have a better future. Future plans are probably going to college in Wausau to become a vet tech. That'll be the goal.
My name is Tanner Schmidt. I wrestled 113, 120, and I'm a sophomore in high school.
I'm Joseph Evanson. I am in 10th grade and I wrestled at 220 and 195.
So I'm Robert Tramke. I weigh in at 132 and I'm in 9th grade.
Cole Lehman, 145, 152, junior.
Abigail Swanson, grade 10, 170.
My name's Caden. I'm a junior and I was in the 160 class.
My name is Trevin Rapley. I'm a sophomore in high school. I wrestled at 145 this year.
I'm Owen Kurtz. I'm a freshman and I wrestle at 285.
I'm Connor Jensen. I'm a sophomore and I wrestle at 220.
Hi, my name is Joseph Fugel. I am a junior and I wrestle 182.
My name is Caden Pillar. I'm a freshman and I wrestle at 182.
Okay, my name's David. I'm a sophomore and I'm around 170 to 180 pounds in the middles.
I'm Kyle Weiss. I am in 10th grade and I wrestle at the 113 weight class.
My name is Doino Zivko. I'm a freshman at the high school and I wrestle 120.
This season was pretty fun and I was really happy that we got to wrestle even though there was some pandemic going on.
This season was just a season of getting better at wrestling, cutting weight, and doing all that crap.
It meant a lot. I really liked the season. It was just kind of fun. It was really outgoing. I learned a lot from it. Really glad that I had this year. And I'm ready for next year.
I mean, the season was kind of short. It wasn't the same as our normal season. Yeah. In a ways it was harder, in a ways it was easier, but I mean, we pushed through it and we were fine.
I got to have a lot of opportunities to wrestle at camps, and I'm grateful that girls wrestling is progressing.
Just getting better, really. My friend Cole got injured halfway through, so me and Coach Craylow would work together, just me and him on one-on-one stuff, and I think that helped out a lot. This season I improved definitely the most out of all of them by far.
I only got to wrestle a couple of times this year because of my grade. I was trying really hard to get it up. I actually wrestled my heart out whenever I got to.
I felt like I did pretty good this season. Felt like it was a good accomplishment for a freshman just to go into regionals and get a good experience and take third. And knowing that on a normal year I probably would have gone to sectionals. And definitely means a lot since it's going to help me in my future do better.
I had a prior injury for football, so I only got to wrestle at conference this year. I have 2 practices before that. But coming up and helping out in practice and watching practice really helped me improve, even though I really didn't do anything. But just being here and supporting the guys.
This year I was injured for most of it from a football injury, but when I got back I was able to get in a couple matches and I improved throughout the year.
My season, it was my first year. I came from, actually Coach Ellenbecker talked to me from football saying that if I do wrestling it would make me a better football player. So that was the main thing about this season, was just getting to know the sport and wrestle some people I haven't. And my season it was okay for being a new year. My first 2 matches, the first one I got pinned in 7 seconds, next one, but I went to overtime and won. So there's progress right away. And I guess it just kept on building throughout the year. I didn't get to wrestle a conference this year, but hopefully next year I will.
I kind of joined a little late. It was kind of nice to, stay in shape and work out, stuff like that.
So I really liked the season, but I didn't really like the coronavirus stuff, and it just meant a lot to me this year because my brother's a senior.
It was good. It meant a lot to me.
I want to place at the conference tournament and make it to state.
My future goals is to drop down to the middle group, which should be easy. Maybe make it to state, stuff like that.
Work hard, pay attention, and hopefully be good at the sport even better.
Next year I'd like to make state. I'd like my record to be up more, and I don't want to gain too much weight over in the off season. I kind of want to stay where I'm at.
To become an All-American and win girls state.
Yeah, my goal next year is just to try to make it in sectionals and hopefully do good in sectionals, but we'll see, yeah.
My future goals, I'm honestly not sure what I'm going to be doing with the sport. I want to take this year off, but I got other people supporting me in the sport, so I just decided to run with it.
Probably making the state 3 times. Hoping to get there next year. Be a great accomplishment if I could.
Win 20 matches next year and hopefully get to 50 on my career.
I just want to improve for next year and get a little bit farther than I did.
Just to keep learning the game, or keep learning the sport, I guess I should say, and being there for the rest of the guys, and hopefully make it to state one of these times.
I don't know, I'd just like to stay in wrestling, keep working out, keep in shape, that kind of stuff.
No, not really.
I'd say some of my future goals are to wrestle at state and place in state, and just become an overall better wrestler and better person.
Paul Kurtz, of Wrestling Club President. Most thankful for the season is that we even had a season. Back in October and November, we weren't even sure any of this was going to happen. Then little by little, we were given more opportunities, a little more insight that a season might happen. I think some of the quirks for the season is the guys having to wrestle with a mask the whole time. His first match or first dual meet we had, every time the person's mask fell off, they had to stop the match and the kids had to put the mask back on. That was a bit of a pain in the butt. But I'm just thankful that we even had a season. Years past, the kids probably had 40 matches. This year they had 20. I'm also thankful that we got to use this beautiful new dome we have. We actually held the GNC tournament inside of it, which was awesome. We got a lot of good compliments about it. Everybody was in kind of wow factor when they got inside of it. We also had one additional dual meet with another team. I think it was actually an exhibition match that we had with a team to the west of us, I think it was. That went well. Just thankful that we were able to sacrifice something out of this corona situation. So other than that, I just want us to get back to a norm where we're having some weekend tournaments. The guys can actually go and experience and have some fun in a hotel with a pool with their buddies, hang out during the weekend on away tournaments and what have you. Just want to get back to a normal. Well, I think everybody is pretty much done with this corona stuff, so I think that's it.
I'm Jim Greatlow. I've been coaching Rhinelander for 31 years, and this year I was in charge of the middleweights, and I had 5 wrestlers this year. Well, obviously with COVID, this year was different. We were separated into 3 groups because of the COVID virus, and it was challenging because I think we didn't really have the chance to have a good team concept, a good bonding as a result, but we had to do what we had to do to get through the season. But that was definitely the challenge, is not having the team atmosphere that we would normally have. Plus the kids, because of the restrictions on the dual meets that we could have, where we had to have 7 days in between competitions, it really reduced the number of matches that they could get and really reduced the amount of experience and chance for them to get better. So that was a challenge. Well, probably Caden Nuri. Caden's only in his 3rd year of wrestling, and he's really improved this year. And he ended up taking 2nd in conference and 4th this weekend in regionals. And in a normal year, he would have gone on to sectionals. And he's got 1 more year, and I'm looking forward to next year and what he can do. But again, as I said earlier, it took 2nd in conference, which was an improvement from last year, where he took 3rd. And I believe last year he was maybe 10 and 30 in terms of competition, but this year he was 14 and 4. So would have really been nice to see him with more matches to gain more experience. But Caden is probably the highlight in my pod this year. It was too bad that Cole Lehman got injured. He wrestled early for us at 152 pounds and was probably 5 and 2 at the time where he hurt his knee. And so that knocked him out for the year, and I think he would have had some success at conference this year. He would have gotten down probably to 145 and would have done well there and maybe had a chance at regionals to go on to sectionals. So that was unfortunate that Cole got hurt, but he's a hard worker, and he comes back for 1 more year, and hopefully he takes advantage of it. Yeah, you know, just working with the kids one-on-one, you know, the highs and lows of the season, and watching them work hard to get better is important to me, and wanting to get better, and all 5 wrestlers that I had in my pod definitely did that. We had David Field offer, who's a new kid, and he didn't get any matches or competition, but he really worked hard in the room. Abby Swanson, who's a girl, only girl on our team, and she had to battle the boys all year, and she did. She does very well in girls' competitions around the state, and I think that's the reason why she's up practicing hard with us. And then 1 more wrestler I had was Trevin Rapley, who had some injury issues as well, but he has potential if he decides he wants to do well in the sport. But highlights, obviously, you know, winning at Lakeland to get the hammer again for the 3rd year in a row, in honor of Tom Handrick, who used to coach with us. So that was a highlight. But then also being able to have a conference tournament in the Dome, where it was up until the week before, we didn't know if we were going to be able to have a tournament, and we were able to, and we hosted it in the Dome, and it went very well. And so I'm excited for maybe future competitions in the Dome next year if we can ever get by this COVID stuff. Well, you know, obviously we're going to miss our seniors. You know, unfortunately Ben Sinclair didn't make it through sectionals, but Hugh Weiss and Tim Fox did, and they have a chance to go to state, which is coming up this weekend. I just encourage all the kids that are going to come back next year that, hey, there's really no off season. You know, that they need to be working hard, trying to get better, particularly in the weight room, is what they really should. We need to improve our strength.
My name's Adam Weiss. I've been coaching with the Littles, and been coaching them now for a couple years. I've coached wrestling for 6, along with some other sports at the high school. Been here quite a while. I'm an alumni of the wrestling program. A lot of fond memories, and what I guess stands out the most to me as being a parent and a coach is that at some point somebody had to give to me in the wrestling program, and I'm trying to give back to the program, and not just the program but the community as a whole. You know, I've got a lot of really good memories from wrestling in general. A lot of them started back in 1983 when I graduated. We had basically 5 of the 12 members of my team went to state that year, and we had a lot of really good quality wrestlers in a great program. So there's a lot of history in this program. And now coming up to the future, the kids that we're coaching right now, there's a lot of really good quality kids in the program. They've been there for years. And it's just nice to see that tradition continue. There's a lot of really good strengths. Of course, now with
with the coaching staff that we have. It's actually growing, and some real quality coaches coming up. One is the addition of Scotty Arneson, who happens to be the son of the guy that I used to wrestle with, who was my partner all the time, Scott Arneson, who wrestled for Platteville, and Scotty wrestled for Platteville. They went a long ways in their wrestling career. So we've got just a real good base of high caliber coaching, and it all pays off. The pod consists of basically 6 wrestlers. They've all improved every year that we've been here. Of course, Tim Fox is one of the standouts. He made it to state last year, is well on his way this year. Hugh has come a long ways, and he's one of my sons. And I also have Kyle, who's wrestling, who's a sophomore. We have Tanner, and then a few others that are in there that are they're a real good group that's coming up that they're really going to develop into some good caliber wrestlers. And I hope to see this continue. I don't know that there was any real one instance that stood out. One thing that comes to mind is just the effort that the kids put in. There was always good wrestling, good hard practices. Just you could see the development through the year, and as the kids develop, the quality of wrestling obviously improves, and it's just nice to see that they're continually making that step forward, and it'll help them through all their life. You know, that's the one beautiful thing about sports, is that it builds a lot of really good character in the kids, whether it be working as teammates, knowing how to give that extra effort when they get out in the real world and get into a work type situation. All these kids are going to succeed. They know how to drive and how to work and what it means to sweat and actually go out and get what you're looking for. I feel that that's all really important, and that's what sports really does for these kids. And so I'm just really glad to see these programs and the way they develop kids. For all these wrestlers that are maybe underclassmen that are going to be moving up to fill the roles of the graduating seniors, the one thing that you're going to see is that these kids that maybe started as freshmen that were maybe timid, didn't really know where they wanted to be, where they were going to stand, how they fit into this role or the role model that they're going to assume. If you look at some of the upperclassmen or the seniors that are graduating, these up-and-comers will learn the leadership skills. They'll develop into a teammate that the younger kids look up to and that they can come to for advice or instruction. And these skills will carry throughout not just their sports and their high school career, but into college and into the real world. And it's just absolutely critical that I think we have sports in school, because I do believe that it really helps to develop a good character and somebody that you want in your workforce.
My name is Tyler Figueroa. I coach the Bigs Pod, which is 182 through 285. So my pod is the big guys. I work mainly with 6 big guys this year. They did an awesome job. I'll talk about each guy individually to start. First we had Caden Pillar. So Caden is a first-year wrestler. He mostly came out this year to help out with his football playing. He did a great job. He learned a lot. I think you could probably ask him and he'd say he probably had no idea walking in this room what it was going to all be about. But showed up every day, came in with a great attitude, worked really hard in the weight room. Look forward to him getting more matches in the future and have fun coaching him in the next few years. Next guy, Joe Evanson. He was kind of cool to see this year. He started out as kind of a bigger guy. By the end of the season, I bet you he lost 20 or 25 pounds throughout the season. Just he's at the age, his body is changing, he's working really hard, he started eating right. Unfortunately, Joe didn't get a ton of matches this year, just with the season being what it was. But he did an awesome job. He took advantage of the matches he got. He got a couple varsity matches towards the end of the season after he made 195. I'm really, really excited to see what Joe comes in with next year. What he looks like physically, as hard as he's been working and how much he changes. Next guy, is Connor Jensen. So Connor was a little different this year too, just because he had a football injury with his hand. He had surgery, so he really, unfortunately, only got about a week to wrestle this year. Did great, showed up, wrestled for 4 days of wrestling conference, and wrestled hard. It's really hard to jump in at the end of the season against guys that have a whole season in that are kind of in the group, but did a great job. Unfortunately, he kind of hurt his shoulder at conference and cut his season short again. But Connor's another one. He's been working hard. He's getting stronger, and hopefully he'll be able to slide into the 220 spot for us next year on varsity if he can stay healthy. Joe Fugel. Joe is new to our group this year. Joe was, I want to say, 152 or 160 last year, so he definitely put on some weight and grew into a position with us this year. Joe was really, really fun to coach. He's actually really only been wrestling for about a year. I don't think he came out till almost January last year, and you forget that when you watch him wrestle. I coach him, and I feel like, oh, why did he do that? That's a simple mistake, but you forget he's been wrestling for approximately 12 months his whole life. That being said, it is really exciting to coach him because he's got really, really good hips. He's got a lot of natural ability, and he just works so hard. So Joe is going to be a great addition next year as a senior. Hopefully he can gain a little bit more weight, get a little bit bigger, and he's going to be great to watch next year. I think he's going to surprise some people. Next we have Owen Kurtz. Owen wrestled heavyweight for us this year. Owen did have a great freshman season, and I'm always really impressed with Owen because it is not easy to wrestle heavyweight as a freshman. A lot of those guys are juniors and seniors by the time they make varsity, so they may not look like much. They may look like they maybe are kind of fat guys, but they're really, really strong. And Owen did an awesome job handling those guys. He's really strong, he's dedicated to the weight room, and he's extremely coachable. Those things together, that's going to take him a long way in the next 3 or 4 years of sports. One thing with Owen, the sky really is the limit, and I look forward to seeing what he becomes over the next 3 years. And then last, we have our only senior of the group. We have Ben Sinclair. So I kind of wrote a little bit here on Ben. I want to make sure I don't forget anything. Ben's season didn't end the way we wanted it to. But unexpected things happened, and that's why we wrestled the matches. If it was only about what was on paper, there'd be no reason to wrestle. Ben was an awesome leader for our young group. Again, he's our only senior. We're mostly freshmen, sophomore, juniors here. He included everybody. He was good to everybody, and I think everybody would probably say they look up to him. Showed up every day, lifted hard, wrestled hard, never took a day off. I always tell him he stresses me out when he wrestles because he does a lot of stuff that shouldn't work, but he's so strong and athletic that he makes it work. As a coach, that's pretty stressful, but sometimes you just have to lean back and say, you know what, he's going to be okay, he knows what he's doing. And I think one of his best qualities as a wrestler is that he's never truly out of a match. Even if he's down, he's only one big move away from winning, and that's just how he wrestled. He's mentally very, very tough. I'd say we're all going to miss Ben next year, and I wish him the best of luck with everything he does. Favorite memories. This was a hard one to make memories, I'm not going to lie. A lot of the memories in a normal season I feel like are made on those Saturdays, those long days in the gym where I don't know if it's just like a camaraderie thing or if it's just so long in a hot, stuffy gym you get delirious. But we kind of missed out on that, unfortunately, this year. As far as memories go, I mean, I feel like every day up in practice, we all were able to share a laugh at some point. We worked hard, but I think we did a pretty good job in the group of staying loose and joking around with each other. And I'd just say, in general, everything was really good this year for the most part.
I'm Scotty Arneson, and I coach the littles, so I coach anywhere from what would be 106 to 138. Pod has been actually very awesome. We have 2 leaders, 2 seniors that have been to the tournaments where we've gotten to so far this year, the sectional tournament, and 1 that has been to the state tournament, so that those 2 have been awesome for leadership purposes and just being around the sport for a while. And it's really helped the little guys, or the younger guys, I think, get into knowing how I want them to drill. And this is my first year with Rhinelander, so getting kind of my foot in the door, kind of trying to get them to understand what my idea of a purposeful practice is. So those guys being in the room have been awesome. And Kyle Weiss, he's been improving drastically over the year. He's just a sophomore. He's made big improvements on just technique and mat time, and that's the biggest thing with our group and our entire team is not having a lot of mat time right now. A lot of them started in high school or late in middle school, where a lot of kids that are going into high school already have 400, 500 matches. Our guys won't even have that by the time they're seniors. So getting good quality practices in is going to make up the difference. And Tanner, he's kind of in that same boat. Those two have been the same exact weight for 2 years now, and they have wrestle-offs, they have all that good stuff, and hopefully next year we can get those one guy to lift a whole bunch, get a little bit heavier, and separate in weight classes, because we're going to need those guys to be leaders. But last year the regional was a 4-person sectional qualifier, and this year it's 2, and he didn't qualify last year with 4 spots, and he just took second in dominant fashion this past weekend. So he's made big improvements, and I think he's starting to believe in himself. The next 2 are the sophomores, and that would be Delano. He very, very raw to the sport. He's got a lot of I would say aggression, so that's awesome, but we still got to work a lot on technique. But he comes in every day, he's willing to learn, he works hard. We're all sweating. Everybody thinks most of the time that our group is wrestling live, and we're actually just drilling, and that's a kudos to Delano. And the next guy that I'm going to talk about, Robert, we didn't see him the first week, so we didn't know if he was going to be coming out, and came out, we're like, what does he weigh? So we got him on the scale, weighed like 133 that day, and we all looked at each other like, he looks pretty big. So we were all excited getting a guy that looks a little bit bigger than he actually weighs. And then since he was so raw and green to the sport, we didn't know what we were going to get. And the first match out, he went blazing forward and ended up getting in a weird scramble position and capitalizing and pinning the guy. Coaching staff and I looked at each other, we're like, all right, he's going to be all right. So we were all excited about that. And then the next match, he went out there, did the same thing, scored on a really good kid. And then it was the fact that we didn't know a lot of wrestling moves yet, that another guy ended up taking over towards the end of the match and wearing us out a little bit. But it's been really fun watching those guys develop just this year and seeing the growth. The 2 seniors, Tim, he was at the state tournament last year, and I think him knowing who I am, I wrestled one of his older brothers. He was really excited about me getting in here, and we had to do a little bit of culture change right at the beginning. There was some leadership differences, I want to say, but at the end, he's been right in there trying to help other guys, getting the practice moving forward. So I think not only as a wrestler, I think he's developed more off the mat than he has on the mat, because he was already pretty solid before, but we've developed his technique and riding abilities a little bit more. But off the mat, I think, is where he's developed the most. The leadership that he thought he had prior to this season, and the leadership role and position I think he knows that he has now, is drastically increased. And not only in the room, but out in public, people have sought out a difference about him trying to help aid other people. So that's really what we're trying to develop here is, yeah, they could win a state title, but everybody forgets about that in 5 years. Maybe not the people from the community, but when he leaves and goes to college or whatever he does workforce afterwards, nobody's going to care about that. It's going to matter what kind of person he is. And that's what we're trying to make here. We want to make winners on and off the mat, but I think off the mat is more important than even on the mat. And the last senior that I want to talk about is Hugh Weiss. He had an ending to his junior season that was kind of disappointing, I would say, for him. But he ended up not making it to the sectionals last year, and he did as a sophomore. So I think that kind of gave him a little bit more motivation coming into this year. And knowing that it was his last ride, and that you kind of get like a senior strength, I think, when you're the big dog in the wrestling community, that you're like, okay, this is my last shot. I gotta put in the extra time I have to. And with the circumstances, he was all gung-ho about making it down to Merrill to do some postseason or out of season wrestling, and I know he was going to, but he was all in, and we've been putting in time early in the mornings, after practices, and just putting in extra time, and I think that's a good thing for his little brother to see. If you put in the time, you can get what you earn, and I think that's the biggest thing about wrestling is you really do get what you deserve, and if you put in the time, you're probably going to win more matches than you did the year before. So I'm pretty new to the coaching realm, or the atmosphere, but these guys they come in at the beginning of the season. Like, I get excited about people that want to work hard, and I think we missed out on a lot of opportunities to get to know each other with tournaments and long bus rides and stuff like that this year, but I think the work ethic is the thing that I was most excited about. Just getting the guys in. Are we actually going to get tired? But after we broke through those walls, that's my favorite memory, is getting through those walls. I would have to say it would be that long day that we had over Christmas break when we went to the movie theater and just spent an entire day with one another. Got to go, we sang, I don't call it karaoke, but it was Christmas carols at some of the coaches' houses that weren't able to come in due to the circumstances this year, and they were the smiles on their face just seeing all the guys. That was worth it, knowing that the coaches that have been here in the past, they just, like Finland and Peel, those guys. Peel was actually my dad's coach when he was here, so just seeing the smile that those guys got from all the guys coming to see them, that was worth it. So I'm looking forward to the future, and hopefully those guys can make it back in the room.
My name is Paul Ellenbecker. I'm the head wrestling coach. This is my 9th year as head wrestling coach in Rhinelander and my 10th year overall. This season's been really a challenging year with the COVID and everything that happened, looking at the beginning from last year at the time we got lucky to get the state tournament in, and then they pretty much shut everything down. So going into this year, I thought at the end of last year, I was so excited for where things were with the team, and I was thinking, it's going to be a nice year. We got a lot of new kids out, and we got Malachek, we had a lot of kids doing the Greco freestyle, and all of a sudden I thought that this COVID thing was like a 1 or 2 week thing, would be back to school, but the longer it kept going, the more it really kind of messed with things. And we got in the summer and we had to cancel everything, and when they canceled Hodag Country Fest, I'm like, this stuff's real. They shut us down for school, and we didn't know if we were going to have a football season. It really kind of hurt our wrestling off-season plan, and we had such a good end of the year last year. I was looking forward to this year, and coming into this year, it's like you always have high expectations and hopes, and we did, and it's just we didn't know if we were going to have a season. So it was probably the most challenging year by far that I ever had as a coach. And looking back on it, at how the year went, it's like we did our best we could to have opportunities for the kids and make fun opportunities and have the kids just wrestle as much as we could. And looking back, we were lucky that we were able to get a conference tournament just in time. We found out the Friday before the tournament that we could actually host a conference tournament, which was a really cool feeling, and it was like normalcy having that conference tournament. And in a year where so many bad things seem to happen with just getting self-quarantines and people dying from the corona, it's a year that we're just happy to have a wrestling season in general. I mean, as we wrap up this year, we're almost through with it, and it's like you just look back and you didn't know if we were going to have a regional, sectional, state, and we don't have a full-fledged state tournament, but it's something. They're trying their best to get it through, and we were pretty fortunate this year to only have a couple of issues that set us back, but just having the year in general, it was great that the kids could have something, and that's kind of what we're thankful for. And the year kind of started out, and it was kind of just a crappy year in general for a lot of stuff, it started back at the beginning of the year when, we found out we were going to have wrestling and we were going to have the masks on all the time. And it was like, how are we going to wrestle in masks? How is this going to work? And there were so many questions and nobody had any answers. And then they dropped it on us that we have one dual meet a week. And that's hard for kids. It takes a lot of willpower and a lot of determination to fight through that and wrestle in that. And our kids here, it's not many kids. Some kids jumped ship. Some kids didn't want to do it. And then we had the unfortunate injury of losing Walker Hartman at the end of the football season, and it was like a major problem for looking towards our season. Walker is one of our team leaders, and he's one of the most respected kids in our program. And this being his senior year and ranked in the state, and just finding out he tore his ACL in the football game, it was like an awful feeling. I mean, just for him knowing everything he put into the sport and where he's at now, and the suffering that he's been going through, and it just kind of like when it rains it pours. It felt like this year in a lot of ways, but I mean, tribute to our guys that made it through. And I mean, we're here at the end of the year, and this is one of our last practices. We're winding down after the regional, and we had pretty much 16 kids at practice tonight, which is the most we had. So we got a group that continues to work and they continue to fight and continue to get better for the future. I mean, hopefully we can get things cleared up so that next year can be a better year for everyone. Favorite memory of the year, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not this huge wrestling technique guy. I love the mentality of wrestling teams and kids that join the team and how people come together, and I like how kids look out for each other. I mean, this year when we had our little Christmas thing, it was, some people might think it's cheesy, but I just seen our kids have that one practice together like we used to do it for the first time all year, where the kids actually wrestled together, and then we went to the movie. We watched Win Win, had popcorn, had pizza. We went out to eat at the Friendship House, and then we went Christmas caroling to Coach Peel and Coach Finland's, and not having them guys with us this year was challenging. I mean, them guys have been with our program for 30 years. They're both in the Hall of Fame, or going to be in the Hall of Fame for Rhinelander wrestling, and it's like these guys have been with us for the long haul, and being able to see their faces that night, how excited they were to see the kids, and our kids to see that. I mean, it was to me, that was not even a wrestling-ish situation, and as far as wrestling goes, winning the hammer this year, I mean, we won one dual meet. We were like 1-5 or whatever our record was, and it's like, them dual meets, it's kind of an asterisk by it, because it's like one of them years where, I mean, if we have one more kid, we probably have a 4-2 record possibly, or a 3-3 record. It's just hard to win matches when you only can wrestle 7 or 8 kids in a dual meet. And unfortunately, that's the way it was. But winning the hammer at Lakeland was my highlight, just because it was the rivalry match, and it meant a lot with Tom Handrick passing, and being able to win that, in his honor, keep the hammer in Rhinelander. That was, if there was one match to win this year, that was the one. And that sticks out as my memory for the year. That was the best thing that happened to us. Our seniors this year, I mean, these kids like Hugh, Tim, Ben, and Walker, I mean, 4 really talented, super good kids. It's like, I wish that we could have provided you a regular season. Nothing sucks more than how our season went, and for you guys to make the best of a tough situation and being able to come here every day, and even though be selfless and be able to be responsible and show leadership and do all the wonderful things you guys did this year as seniors. And it's like, to me, it's like that's a group that I'm going to remember. It's like, and I see a lot of these guys that kind of, especially like Tim, Ben, and Walker, they came through they had, as freshmen, and Hugh joined a little bit later, but to carry on the tradition of the alumni guys that treated the younger kids awesome. And like, one of the things I really enjoy about this sport is a lot of kids, when they come out as freshmen, their first year freshmen, this is the best year they have. And then it's like, they have so much fun their freshman year, and they're hanging around the upperclassmen, and they treat kids well, and that's kind of like what I look at our program like. I want kids to leave the program, and when they're done, have a good experience with it, and so that when they're older, when they have their own children, they're like, I want my kid to wrestle, I want my kid to have the same experience I had. And I can honestly say, I think a lot of our kids that leave this program do it, and I look at our seniors this year, I mean, them guys are tough, and they just did a wonderful job with it. And not only just our wrestlers, our 2 managers, Destiny and Emily, I mean, they love this team as much as any of the guys on the team. And like for me to kind of finish up with them and just see how they're, you know, like with that group there as a watching them come through as freshmen, and I just love the program, and I appreciate that from their end of it. And you know, it's a selfless job as managers too, and the two girls have done a lot of stuff for us. They know a lot about wrestling, and we're gonna miss them too because they're workers, and they did a lot for us. And they, looking back on it, it's been kind of weird watching Destiny all the way through middle school grow up. She's like a daughter almost. And Emily, you know, she's been there too through everything last couple of years, and it's like they get involved in all of our extracurricular stuff, our little parties, our get-togethers. They're friends with my wife. So it's just kind of a cool experience. And I just hope, you know, from this year that in the future, you know, the program is going to be in good shape. I know we're going to get stronger next year already. I like the sport personally, and I'm ready for, you know, just some changes to be made in the program, and I think we're gonna, like, we got the right person and people in mind here that are gonna get things going again, and there's gonna be a newfound balance and energy, and the people in Rhinelander, they support our program every year. And I mean, we have people in town that want us to do well, and they cheer for us win or lose, and that's all you can really ask. And I'm confident that we're going to get better next year and the year after. And we got a lot of good people here that love the sport, and we'll continually work towards getting our program stronger every single year. This is going to be my last year as head wrestling coach. 2 years ago when I did step down, I was ready to be done. And looking back on it, I mean, it's time. You know, like, I'm glad I could help the program for the 2 years, you know, just to fill in until we found a permanent person. And I'm just glad to be away, but I think we're going to be in a better situation moving forward next year and the year after. And it's like I feel confident now coming back in the future and just helping out where I'm needed, and not being the lead for the program anymore. And I couldn't be happier to have been the head coach for 9 years, and looking back on it and seeing like all the alumni and all the friends and relationships I built, and the good people that helped along the way from the very first group that I worked with, you know, like Mark Steinmetz and you know, Todd Johnson, and then you have Denise Check, and you know, all these parents from way back in them days, and the DeMeyers, the Olsons, the Reeses, you know, you name it, the like people that I'm still friends with. And there's so many good parents that I have a strong relationship with yet, and it's like they help out with our tournaments yet, and our sponsors, our people around town that just love our program. And it's like I'm so thankful that the 9 years it went fast, and it's 10 years in Rhinelander, and it feels like I've been here forever. And you know, when I first moved up here, I always thought people were crazy about, you know, we're Hodags, I'm a Hodag, and it's like now 10 years up here, it's like I'm not afraid to say I'm a Hodag. I may not have been born here, but I invested in this program, and I'm invested in this town and community, and having the things we have here. And I'm just excited about being able to step away and not be the daily grind guy here. And you know, like it takes a lot of energy to be the head coach, and it takes a lot of passion. And I think it was time to just take another step back and let someone else that wants to do it and is ready to do it. And it's like, and we're gonna end up having a really good head coach here, and we're going to end up with our program's going to be solid for years to come. And I think we got to get people that are here for the right reasons, and we're going to get that. And I'm going to miss it, but I'm not going to be far away. I'm definitely going to be supporting the program the rest of my life. As long as I'm alive, I'm going to be a fan of Hodag wrestling, and I'm not going to miss people because I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just not going to be the head coach anymore. And I'm not going to ever forget the relationships that I built through this sport and the people. And that's probably the one thing I'm most proud of. It could be kids that quit the sport. It could be kids that didn't finish their seasons like they wanted. But I think one of the things I did is I treated everybody. It could be the best kid to the worst kid, to the kid that walked out 2 days later, and I tried to always be fair to them and not judge them. And I think it served pretty well, because there's a lot of kids that, you know, I hope look back at me as a coach and think I'm glad I got coached by the guy. And I'm gonna miss that part, you know, and I'm just the kids and stuff like that. But like I said, we've got so many relationships and so many good things from the sport, and there's just so many good people. I mean, even now currently, like Paul Kurtz and Jennifer Swanson, all the work they do for us, and just awesome people. I mean, and it's like, being part of this program, I wish people would see like the family atmosphere we got and the long-term relationships. And it's like, if I have a son or daughter, I definitely want them to be part of this program. So I just want to thank everyone in Rhinelander and like the people around and all the coaches, you know, like Mike Peel, Jim Kreitlow, Pat Finland, all them guys all the way down to our coaches now, you know, Figs and Scotty. And it's like, you know, we got a lot of good people here, and I'm just happy, you know, how everything settled, and I'm glad that everything worked out like it did, and it's time.